Hey Fit Fam, it is Coach Rye from Team Flex. Today we're going to dive into the Charlotte Cup Pro Wellness, and we're going to look at the athletes' top 3, our placings, how they lined up that way, why they lined up that way, and what this means for you as a competitor out there, no matter your level. If you've never done wellness before, you'll get something out of this video. If you're a wellness pro, you'll get something out of this video, alright? So let's take a look at everything and kind of go over it in the criteria. And please make sure that you subscribe to my channel. YouTube does not love bodybuilding. They're always flagging my videos because of athletes wearing bikinis, which I think is just silly. So please make sure every time you subscribe, you give me that thumbs up or a comment, anything. It helps the channel actually get out there and help more people, which is the whole purpose of why I'm doing this thing. All right, so let's take a look now at Charlotte Cup Pro Wellness Division and see how these athletes lined up. So first things first, let's go over who's who. So Bruno, we've covered Bruno on this channel before. She was at Olympia. She was top at Olympia, top 5, and you know, she was one of my predictions for Olympia. She has gone on to now win Charlotte Cup Pro, requalifying her. Very exciting time for Bruna. We got Jennifer Zoller over here on this side of the screen, that's second place, and then we got Luz over here. She's in third place, and we're going to talk about these physiques here. We're going to talk about the placings, and we're going to go a little bit more in depth into how and why this is wellness. All right, so here we go. Let's start with Bruno, our winner. So when we look at Bruno, you know, it is very easy to see how this is a wellness dominant look. So wellness being, we got to have that shape up top. We got to have this. Her hair kind of covers her shoulders, but you can still see the shape, and that's what's happening, you know. This tapered look into this narrow waist. Bruno's got a very tiny waist, very, very narrow waist for wellness division, honestly. So that really does help her a lot, because judges are still looking for that hourglass top, that kind of taper in, the width up top, and then the taper into the waist, and that's what we're seeing here. And lower body looks clearly disproportionately dominant, in my opinion. Very good, you know, glute development here at this point. A lot of upper glute, a lot of fullness to the glute, and then of course we got the quads. That's kind of what makes wellness is this lower body dominance overall. It's basically a bikini type physique up top, a little bit of extra shoulder maybe, but mostly lower body dominance is what makes wellness. Okay, and she has a very good structure for this. She looks clearly very dominant, even though she's a smaller athlete, by the way. She's a little bit on the smaller side height-wise and everything, so it pays off very advantageously to her to make sure she's got that really nice taper, and I think that's what made the difference here. We look over here at Jen Zoller. So Jen, she's got a lot of muscle. Jen is a very, very muscular physique here. A lot of shoulders, a lot of arms even, big lats, thicker in the waist, and then again, very dominant lower body. So she still does pull off that wellness criteria. That's how she's getting, you know, into this second place slot here. But again, I don't think necessarily winning, because, you know, she's a little bit too dominant up top, in my opinion. Carries a little too much muscle overall, and I think that that's a factor. But you can see her lower body, quad sweeps, fullness to the glute. I mean, she is still in this pose, and in, you know, her other poses we'll look at in a second, dominant in the lower body, even though her upper body is so developed. So it is one of those things where, you know, you can push that criteria out a little bit in those spots, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to come home with the win, okay? And then we got Luz over here. So same kind of thing, in my opinion. You know, very dominant upper body, pretty much in the shoulders, a little bit less though than Jen, in my opinion. However, not as good of a taper, a lot wider in the waist for her, but again, the lower body still comes together, brings it together, glutes, the quad, everything there. So this is how you get to third in this spot. But I mean, when you look at this lineup, you know, you look at the top 3 here, I would say Jen and Luz look a lot more, you know, like they are very similar physiques, and Bruna came and she looks, you know, in my opinion, a lot kind of more competitive upwards in the chain, you know, towards Olympia and everything. And obviously coming off some of the top placings at Olympia previously here, she's coming here ahead of the game a bit more. So, you know, it is a different look, but it is judges sending us a message saying, hey, that is actually what we like a little bit more. Not as much of the muscle up top, and really focused on that taper, the very narrow waist. And that's why Bruno's going to take the cake in that win right here. So everything is always won from the back in this sport. If you hear me say that on the channel all the time. I feel like I say it every video, but it is important to know, and that's where we get to see this again here too. So now we're going to transition over to the back pose, and we get a clear differences here on these athletes. A lot of different look happening. So Bruno here, you know, again, we're showing the shape, we're showing what we need. A little bit of shoulder, good. Tapers in, you can see it, good. And then the lower body, okay, so this is where a very, very, very good wellness look for her. She's got the upper glute fullness, very key, very full glute overall. Tie-in showing well. This conditioning is very nice for her. It really pulls through the tie-in just perfectly. Like, she's right on the cusp of being like, oh, you could go too lean, and she's definitely not too soft. So it is actually the perfect level of conditioning for her. I think that looks great. You can see the hamstrings a lot better here, and you know, obviously she's got very dominant quads. So again, judges want to see your quads in this back pose. They're looking and they're saying, all right, can we see that quad sweep? If we can't, you know, maybe that's more like bikini. We don't want you, you know, in wellness as much. It's not fitting the criteria. But when you can really see that quad sweep on the outside from the back pose, that's when judges get to see, all right, this is a wellness physique. So she's got a really nice structure. What really you should focus on a lot too is understanding, if you're a wellness competitor, you want to have muscles that match. So you want to have glutes that match the quads, that match the hamstrings, all in a nice ratio. So wellness is dominant lower body compared to the upper body, but it shouldn't be out of proportion. Those muscles should be in good proportion, and when you see that, it's really like what Bruno brought here to this stage, okay? So now let's transition a little bit out and see our second and third place and what could have kind of brought them there. So again, looking at Jennifer, remember I said she was so stacked up, jacked. She's got a lot of muscle. You can definitely see it here. Her lower body is still dominant compared to her upper body in this back pose, but honestly, her quads are so developed that it almost overpowers every other muscle in her lower body, and even overpowers her upper body, right? Because judges are looking for this. They want to see that disproportionate upper to lower body dominance, but again, those muscle groups need to be matching. So her quads look so overpowering in this back pose that it makes her glutes look underdeveloped. It makes her glutes look smaller overall in size, and it also does the same thing to the hamstrings. So I would say, you know, her main goal, if she wants to, you know, come up here and take the win, if things had gone differently, a little bit better balance in the lower body would have gone a long way, and probably also taking, you know, her upper body down a bit like we talked about. Now let's look at Luz over here, third place. So Luz, she has a lot of the same markers that I just talked about with Jen, but just a little bit of a different factor. So again, everybody's going to carry their muscle a little bit differently on their physiques depending. She's got that quad sweep. She's got really dominant hamstrings. You can see just popping through here. She's got good glute structure, good upper glute, all this. But I think what's really taken her, you know, to have this third placing at this point is the upper body looks so dominant in her back pose, right? Like, her upper body looks totally full, totally jacked up, totally a lot of width here compared to even the lower body. And I do think her hamstrings are a bit out of proportion. She's also got these calves. I mean, judges are not even looking at calves, but this is just to show you guys. I'm showing you this as an indicator. Like, her calves are very developed compared to the other athletes, and we don't talk about calves on this channel because, again, judges aren't looking for your calves. They're not scoring you on calves. They're not doing that in wellness. But the calf development here, you know, for me as a coach, is an indicator of how hard she's hitting the hamstrings, how hard she's hitting that posterior chain. So, you know, her hamstrings being a little bit out of balance to the quads and to the glutes could have been a factor. Also, another thing that I'm going to say, you know, just out of consideration, I'm not sure if it's 100% or not, because it could be camera angle. You know, to me, it looks like Luz has a little bit of an imbalance, right? So if you look here at the bottom of her tie-in on this glute versus this one, it looks to be a little bit less development going on the left side of this image here versus the right. And this is something that gets, you know, this is a factor. You can almost see that that whole side looks a little bit smaller than the other one. So again, it could be a camera angle thing, you guys. This does happen at events, depending where the camera's at or the competitor stands or whatever. It can look a little disproportionate, but it also could be a factor, you know, something to consider. So again, this is how those placings kind of came down. It makes sense to me looking at the lineup that Bruno was very much classed above our other top two athletes here, and there's obviously other athletes at the event which she also has proceeded to win over. So it's a clear message from judges to say, all right, we're still really focused on shape in, you know, wellness. We want to see this. We want to see that taper. Don't just try, like try to add so much muscle that you end up getting your waist bigger, because if you do that, it's not going to result in, you know, the exact placings that you would want to see across the board, right? So again, if you're a wellness competitor, take that message home. Work on the shape up top, work on keeping the waist tight, and work on developing that lower body in symmetry. Those muscle groups need to match each other. You don't want to be too big in the quads, small in the glutes, things like that. It just will not favor you well. And we're going to be doing more videos, you guys, more channels. I want to know what you think of the placing. You know, do you think that Bruna should have won this? Do you think she's the best physique out of those top 3 for the criteria in your opinion? Or do you disagree and you think one of the other athletes should have won? By the way, you guys, when I'm always talking about this, all these athletes have very awesome physiques. They're talking about points of differences here. I'm just trying to highlight a little bit more for you into the actual process of what's going on and where these things could be moving and what it could mean for you as a competitor. So when I'm talking about these athletes, all 3 of them give you a great representation of the criteria and what you should be working for, but there are markers that I think do dictate, you know, different types of placings, and that can go down to how you should be training and everything else. So just factor all that in as we go. Great job, everybody, that we featured in the video here today. Thanks to NpcNewsOnline for these photos. Check out all those over there, you guys, if you ever want to review competitions yourself and look at some photos. And we'll be doing a lot more content, so let me know other competitions you want me to cover on this channel, and I will do it, all right? Thanks for watching. Coach Rye is out.